Hey, it's Richard with OrcaSat. In this video, I'm just going to go over just sort of the approach for beginning to route a PCB in Altium. Um, so I've placed some of the initial components. So the main connectors are, I think, in fairly reasonable locations right now. Um, but we've got various other components that we sort of need to deal with. And what I like to do first is kind of start dragging things around. And what you want to do is look at the connections and just sort of see where they're going. So you can see when I drag this set of components, right, we have one connection up near the top, which is a little bit annoying, and a couple down near the bottom. So, and as you move it, it may decide to, so it's going to the closest connection point. So as you move it, you can kind of see like your different options for where things can go. So um, let's go with kind of this for now, um, and then we'll see how we can refine it later maybe. Um, Another thing you can do is on a kind of component-wise basis. Uh, Go around, and if you see something like this, right, where you've got this crossover between the connections that need to happen, this is a real good candidate for just if we rotate this component to 270, then this will straighten out, and then we're good. And then that plane needs to get redone. But yeah, anyway, uh, that's a lot easier, right? Because we don't have a crossover. We don't need to jump to a different layer. Um, Now let's talk a little bit about this mess in here. So these can definitely be tricky. It's good to take a couple of like attempts at it. And after a little while, you'll kind of see the technique for doing these guys. But for large sections like this, where it's just many point-to-point connections that cross over a lot, what I like to do first is kind of pick some of the long, like furthest away ones. So I've done a couple right now, but I'll kind of click around and see where things are going. So that one's gone about halfway up. I don't know, maybe, let's see, do we have any better? So those are about the same. So these two pins essentially go to very close locations on the other connector there. So those might be good to kind of get rid of right now. So let's snake that up. And I'm gonna try to keep my red, so my top layer, going vertical, and then when I need to jump over horizontally, I'll jump onto the bottom layer with a via. So I'm just gonna hold Control and scroll in to zoom, and then if you hold Control and then Shift and click your scroll wheel, you'll jump over to, or sorry, I'm gonna click here. That'll sort of set up that trace on the top layer, the red, and then hold Control Shift and then scroll wheel and click, and we'll place a via, and then there we go. Altium has decided that that's where it wants to put us. So I'll just double click, lock that in, and then we have now routed that little section there. So let's go see what else we can do. So Control Shift and then scroll. I'll go back to my top layer. You want to be in the top layer as much as possible, and then just sort of jump to the bottom when you need to move over something. So it definitely helps to kind of poke around and see where things are going. So this guy's another one, another very long run here. So I'll go down, you know, almost as far as I can go. Click, lock that in, Control Shift, and then scroll, place a via, and then actually I can just hit Enter, and we'll make that connection there. So that's good. Making progress. Let's see. Yeah, so really just it's about working your way through all of them, just being kind of careful about it. So I can kind of go down to a similar location, place another via. Oops. Oops. Just gonna undo that. I didn't start on my top layer. Okay, so this one's not going very far. I may leave that for later. Let's see. This one is definitely going down all the way. And you know, in the future, I may kind of redo these. May need to jump over a layer in a different way, but you know, you kind of need to. You have to start somewhere when you're doing this. So go back to the top. Let's see. Where's that going? Okay. So I can go probably down through there, and then I can hop over. So click. Now place a via. And let's go over to there. So that's done now. So maybe let's handle some of the dense parts. Oops, let's go back to the top. Yeah, so when you go through like this, you can kind of, so since I need to go further down, what I can do is bring this trace down to the left of some that don't need to go quite as far. And then that avoids needing to jump over the layer multiple times. So right, that was a really long trace, but we did it in one shot just by sort of sending it down in the right column so that it didn't need to jump over anything else. So you'll sort of, you'll get the idea of how to handle that after doing it a few times. So yeah, we'll send that up, click, make a new via, and send it right over. Go back to the top. Let's see, where's this going? Okay, so that's going over there. Yeah, so again, I mean, I can do the same thing, sort of find a channel, head down. Ooh, really slow. It's, it's trying to move things around. Click, drop a via there, and then head back over.